Today we are going to deal with Lakshmikant. Actually, I'm not saying it is polity, but I'm specifically saying it is Lakshmikant because Lakshmikant is one such book which is prepared by collecting almost all of the informations from all the NCRTs, all from your sixth standard onwards till your 12th standard, whatever NCRTs are there, whether it is polity or history, almost all of the informations are gathered together in Lakshmikant, and they have added more, even more research informations and more textual information from different sources. So, for a person who is thorough with Lakshmikant, can be in a position to say that actually I've covered all NCRTs. This is one advantage. But again, we'll ask to read NCRTs only because there can be some questions which they have missed out. Okay, like there can be questions about some say definitions of say liberty, welfare state, such kind of like philosophical kind of stuff they used to ask. So, in order for you to not to miss out such questions, we'll ask to read NCRTs. But basically, this is the Bible for polity, Lakshmikant. So the thing is that what's the potential of a potential of this subject in UPSC prelims. Last year, I mean, in 2022, they have asked around 10 questions. That means 20 marks. In 2021, they have asked 18 questions. That means 36 marks. So it's close to 40 marks. So normally in that year, especially in these years, the cutoff is becoming less. So for a person, I mean, 2021 or something, it was around 92 or something was the cutoff. I mean, that was the OBC cutoff and a little more for the general category. So for a person who is able to score around 42 marks from one subject, see the potential. So like we should think this in a broad perspective. For an average aspirant, who is going to attempt the UPSC examination, after just having a broad look at each of the textbooks, all subjects, then he is going for the UPSC exam. Normally, an aspirant will be getting around 70 positive marks. I'm not telling 70 is the net mark, 70 positive marks. But what will happen is that his net score will be less than 50 marks or less than 40 marks when he is having a lot of negative marks. And when we observe the statistics, most of the negative marks are coming from the area from where he had studied maximum. Okay, this happens in mostly in polity and economy. For the other areas, they'll be having no ideas about the questions, so they'll use some logics or common sense or some observational thing or some elimination stuff they'll work out. But for the areas they have studied, they'll try to recollect what they have studied. So UPSC is the master of twisting questions. They know that every single person is reading this Lakshmikant and Kavi. So they are not conducting some KG level or some state PSC like examination. They want people who can think and analyze. So what they will be doing is actually they will be making some twist. Actually, for a person who is thorough with each and every concepts which are mentioned in Lakshmikant or any other subject, can easily overcome these twisted questions. So our aim is to like it's not to mug up things, but to have a fair idea about each and everything which demands understanding. For example, this textbook is having around say 10 or around 11 parts. Out of these actually 10th part and all more relevant to our mains point of view, and until 9th part you can follow the index. Until the 9th part we are having stuff for the prelims as well. But if you when we start our discussion, you will understand that in most of the pages we need not study everything. There are specific points from which questions are repeatedly being asked. But what we'll do is actually every time we sit with Lakshmikant, we'll read from the first sentence till the end of the book. Okay, this happens. This takes a lots of time, and when we are doing this exercise, we are compromising in other subjects. We are compromising in other concepts of say economy and all, where we need to spend more time in revising. So our aim of this exercise as a part of our Guru Shishya program is to do speed reading of Lakshmikant by spending very little time and by focusing to the point areas from where questions are repeatedly coming. So without wasting time, we'll start. You can take the first chapter, historical background. Don't worry, I'm not going to say like line by line or chapter by chapter, but this is a training exercise. It's a beginning of a training exercise. So I'll give you 10 seconds. Just take your pencil, take the bottom side of your pencil and just glance through the pages, like glance through the lines. You just have 10 to 12 seconds. After that, I'll ask you to stop. Just move your pencil in this manner, one by one. By following your pencil, your eye must focus on any areas from which some question can be asked. Okay, you just like try to figure out. I'll tell you which are the important points in this page, but what you should do is actually uh, follow the eyesight along with the pencil, and if you find anything that is that could be asked as a question or in a statement, you just underline that using your pencil. Okay, and at the end of 10 to 12 seconds, I'll tell you which all are the points which should have been underlined. Okay, and you might have been underlining some irrelevant points. I'll correct you at that time. So your time starts now for the first page. And wait a second. Uh, One more thing I forgot to say. Actually, see, studying for UPSC is an art. That's why only some artists clear every year. This is because, like, there is a certain wisdom that UPSC aspirants who clears prelims year by year that they are getting at the end of say 3 or 4 attempts. They'll be realizing, oh, actually I should have studied in this way. So we are trying to impart that wisdom in the beginning stage itself to you. So the thing is that uh, we should be doing this exercise systematically. Like we are at the verge of the first test. We are going to face the first test in the next week. So if I ask you to read Lakshmikant completely and come, actually, if you observe our brochure, Lakshmikant is not mentioned in that. Okay, only NCERTs are mentioned. But what I want you to do is actually, along with the NCERTs anyway you have to quickly read. But since NCERT, the summary of NCERT is given in Lakshmikant, like most of the core points are given in Lakshmikant. If you master Lakshmikant very quickly, like just for the exam sake, actually when we reach the prelims, we should have a fair understanding of each and every area of Lakshmikant, just like a story book we have to read at the end of our preparation. But when we begin our preparation, we have to have only one aim. I should not miss any question from Lakshmikant. See, most of the questions that you are going to get for this test or any other test, like of any institute mock test or even the prelims, original prelims, this thing will be the source. Okay, so you are having the resource in your hand. Okay, no questions will be coming outside of this. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 5, maybe say 10 questions, let them come out of the textbook. But our objective is just to clear the cutoff. Total marks is 200, but do we need to have that much score? We need just less than 50%, like between 95 to 100, actually, to be like precise, to clear this examination. So we can have lots of negatives, no issues. You can make like an n number of questions negative, you can skip a lot of questions, but the objective is that even after doing so many negatives and after skipping so many questions, your score should lie between 95 to 100. Actually, our target will be 130 plus, but for the beginning sake, I'm telling, we should not be missing any questions in the first mock test from the if they are asking from the Lakshmikant. So for that, actually, we should only read the important points, very important points and very confusing points from which questions can be framed. That's why I'm asking you to mark those points which you feel like important. I'll correct you after this. So start doing. If they are mentioning some stories, ignore that. Just focus on the area from where a statement can be framed. Drag your pencils line by line, otherwise you will take a lot of time. Initially it will be difficult, but later on you will be having that art. Stop. Where did you reach? Anybody completed the first half? Completed. Okay. I'll give you 6 more seconds. Just glance through the second part as well. Quickly underline any important point you feel. How many lines did you underline? Like, how many of you have underlined 10 points? How many of you have underlined 5 points? 3 points? You can raise your hands. Okay. I'll tell you which all points you should have underlined. First point, when we study polity, I mean, when we deal with the acts, actually this chapter is all about historical background. Okay, they have enacted many acts. Okay, and we are going through that acts, and we have broadly divided the acts, I mean the period in which these acts are enacted, into two. First one, company's rule, and then crown's rule. Company's rule lasted till 1858. What's the specialty of 1858? Sepoy mutiny happened 1 year before. Okay, so after that, British understood many things. Okay, we cannot carry the administration in these lines. We should not angry the Indians. We should seek their cooperation as well. So that was a change. So 1857 was the year this happened, and from 1858 they have enacted an act, and from that year they have made many relaxations. They have started appointing Indians in the legislative and executive councils and all. So these are the things. So company rule and crown rule, you should have underlined one. Then the company rule. In the company rule, the first act actually regulating act of 1773. See, some things we should understand from the word itself. Like every time I say, we cannot study like 100% and go for the prelims. We should have that sense of understanding from the words and phrases they use. Regulating act means we know that that is a first act. So that must be the first act from where British started regulating the East India Company. Okay. So that is one point. Actually, we need not underline that point, because from the word regulating act, it is clear that that must be the first act from which actually they have started controlling the East India Company. So that is one thing. The next point that you should have underlined is actually designated governor of Bengal as the Governor General of Bengal. That is one point. Next point, it created an executive council of 4 members to assist him, and that first Governor General was Warren Hastings. That is one point. So that is one thing. So maybe they can ask you statement questions, and in that they will be asking you, they will be giving you 3 or 4 acts, and which act like designated governor of Bengal as Governor General of Bengal. They can ask such a question. So second point you should have underlined is actually Supreme Court at Calcutta. This was the act which created the Supreme Court at Calcutta. The another point you should have underlined is actually they asked the Court of Directors. Court of Directors means they are the directors of the East India Company. Okay, that they should report revenue, civil and military affairs in India. That means they are giving a warning to the Court of Directors that we started controlling you, so you should report everything that is happening under you to the British. So these are the 3 important points. I mean, along with the company rule and crown rule, 4 important points you should have underlined in this. I'm not saying that other points are irrelevant, but for the first reading, this should be the way. We'll be going systematically. For the second test, we'll be doing like more reading. Okay, for the first reading, our aim is that we should not miss out any questions if they're asking from the Lakshmikant for the first mock test. Okay, start reading from the Amending Act of 1781 and complete the next page in say 15 seconds. Okay, fine. Now listen. Now look at the page and focus on the areas where I am telling you. Like in the Amending Act of 1781, you should have underlined the title. Okay, and below that you should have underlined Act of Settlement. Okay, this is another name of this act. Then in the features, concentrate on the 4th and 5th points. In the 4th point, they are telling that actually in the act before, I mean in the 1773 Regulating Act, they have mentioned that Supreme Court is established. Okay, actually after that, when they reach 1781 for the Amending Act, meanwhile they have created lot of provincial courts as well. And in the 4th point, they are telling that if see, now we have high courts and subordinate courts. if you want to appeal from High Court, we will be like moving that appeal to Supreme Court. Okay, but at those period, Governor General's Council was more powerful than Supreme Court. So by the amending act, by the amending act, they have informed that actually the appeals from the provincial courts should be taken in the Governor General's Council and not Supreme Court. Okay, so Supreme Court was less powerful than the Governor General in Council. That is one point you should have underlined. Then next point is that Governor General in Council to frame regulations for the provincial courts and councils. Actually, at that time there was no parliament. Okay, so Governor General's Council, council of 3 or 4 persons, they were more powerful. They will be making rules, regulations, and all. So they are telling that Governor General of Council will be framing regulations for the provincial courts and councils. So in the amending act, you should know 3 points for the first reading. It is also known as Act of Settlement. Then appeals from the provincial court should be taken to Governor General's Council. Then Governor General of Council will be making rules and regulations. Okay, 3 points. The remaining point for the first test you need not read. Okay. Second, like Pits India Act. Pits India Act actually, it just you just need to know 2 points. One, we know that actually in the Regulation Act itself we told about Court of Directors. Now they are creating another body called Board of Control. Okay, so they are just designating. Act by act actually they are lessening the powers of East India Company. Okay, now to control them more, they have created a new body called the Board of Control. So Board of Control will be managing all the affairs other than the commercial affairs. Okay, they have told the directors of the East India Company, okay, you manage the commercial affairs like trade kind of things and all. The all other activities, civil, military, government, everything will be managed by Board of Control. Now I'll tell you one more tip. Actually, when you study this thing, where you will be losing lot of time is that you will be studying like, okay, Board of Control. You see the third point in the Pits India Act. It empowered the Board of Control to supervise and direct all operations of the civil and military government and revenues of the British possessions in India. This could come as a statement, but we need not study these deep. Like in the second point itself, they are telling that Court of Directors can manage only commercial affairs from now. And they are telling that in this act, they have created Board of Control. So if Court of Directors can manage only commercial affairs, the rest of all the functions will be done by Board of Control. So we need not study like military function, civil function. Okay, separately we need not study. So from when we study Pits India Act, you should remember only 2 points. One, Court of Directors can hence manage, like from that act, can manage only commercial affairs. The rest of the thing will be done by the new body called the Board of Control. That is the only point you should remember from Pits India Act. Okay. Next, coming to the Act of 1786. Actually, this is just an act to give more power to the next Governor General of Bengal. Actually, in the 1773 Act, we told that Lord Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of Bengal. Now, Lord Cornwallis came and he made this act just to give him more powers. In the first point, you can see that power to override the decision of his council. Second one, Commander-in-Chief. He was made the Commander-in-Chief. Okay. So when we read about the 1786 Act, when we remember this thing, we should have this idea in mind that this Act had no specific provisions or something like that. It was just enacted to give more powers to the Governor General. Okay. So we are from when we imagine this Act itself, we will be having only this much. Giving more power to the Governor General. There is nothing other than that. Okay. So in the statement, if they are asking by giving 1786 Act as a question, if they are giving more provisions, we can understand that the context of 1786 Act was just to give more power to the Governor General of Bengal. Okay. So no other provisions are there. We know that. Actually, even if you don't remember the provisions or something, from the context itself, we can eliminate that option. Now, next Act, Charter Act of 1793. You should focus only on the third point. Is it extended the trade monopoly of the company in India for another period of 20 years. See, rest of the points, if you observe, it is telling that they have given this power to Governor General, this power to Governor, overriding power to Cornwallis over his council. So this kind of questions, this kind of irrelevant thing won't be given in the statement. They will be giving more specific question. Like the statement, the more relevant statement here is that the trade monopoly of the company was extended for another 20 years. Okay. So they have specified a certain year. Like for 20 years, company can do trade. So this is the only point that you have to remember in the first reading. Okay, in the first reading. Okay, in the further test we will be reading more intensely. In the next act, Charter Act of 1813, the point that you should remember is 3 points. First one, uh, they actually till the Charter Act of 1813, the company had entire monopoly of the trade. Okay, now they have started curtailing the monopoly of the company. They told that except in the trade of tea and except in the trade with China, there is no other monopoly for the company. All other trade are open to all British merchants. Okay, East India Company was the company who was representing Britain and doing all the trade. Now they are telling that except in the trade in tea and trade with China, all other monopoly of the company is lost. That is one point. Then you should see the third point. They have invited Christian missionaries for enlightening people. Actually, not enlightening, for converting people to Christianity. They have invited Christian missionaries. That is one point. Now focus on the fifth point. They have asked the local government, okay, you can start collecting taxes. Okay. So these 3 points only in the Charter Act of 1813. One, it's about like giving, like restricting the monopoly of East India Company's trade. Then invited Christian missionaries. Then authorized the local government to impose taxes. Okay. So these 3 points. Now, next act, Charter Act of 1833. You should remember only maybe like 3 to 4 points, and you need not remember sentence by sentence. First sentence, like first point is that Governor General of Bengal was redesignated as Governor General of India. Now, if you observe, further they are telling that vested in him all civil and military powers. See, already we know that they are telling that Governor General of Bengal was made the Governor General of India. So it is understood that all the powers will be vested in him only, because there is no other parliament or no other body. So when we remember the Charter Act of 1833, you just remember from the first point only one thing: Governor General of Bengal was redesignated as Governor General of India, and that person was Lord William Bentinck. Okay, this is the only point you have to remember sometimes, and you need not remember like they have elaborated it like in a more complex way. So just remember one thing: Governor General of India came, he was Lord William Bentinck, so he will be more powerful in civil and military administration. So that's understood. Second point you should remember is that uh, they started centralizing. Like we already told that Governor General of India became a powerful person. Now what he has done is actually Lord William Bentinck has made a change. He told that actually from hereafter the other legislative bodies like the presidency of Bombay and Madras, you won't be having any legislative power. I'll be doing all the legislation. Okay, so 1833 was the act where centralizing tendency started. Okay, so centralization of everything, centralization of administration, centralization of act and regulations and legislations, everything started in 1833. And one point specifically you have to remember is that the laws made under the previous acts were called regulations, and laws made under this act were called acts. So he is actually, what he has done is actually uh, regulation or act which will be more like heavy, like more serious act. So he had literally made the acts made by previous persons like less like serious than his acts. Okay, he told that what I'll be making, that will be act. What is there till now, that will be called regulations. Okay, so he actually highlighted his position rather than the comparing with the previous governor generals. So second point is that centralizing tendency began. From that, you should understand that actually when we write in the micronote, we'll be writing only this thing. First point, Governor General of India. Okay, we'll be making a micronote out of this. For the Charter Act of 1833, we'll be writing first point, Governor General of India, and bracket will be writing Lord William Bentinck. From this, you have to understand that actually previously he was called Governor General of Bengal. Now he was designated as Governor General of India, and the person is William Bentinck. Second thing is actually uh, since he started centralizing tendency, all the other legislative bodies like presidencies of Bombay and Madras were deprived of their legislative powers, and he had made the acts that were present till now less serious by designating them as regulations, and the acts made by him as named as acts. Now the third point is actually it ended the activities of the East India Company as a commercial body. So British started realizing that the East India Company is making lot of revenue. So we should be getting all this revenue. So they started using East India Company just as an administrative body because they are having lots of civil servants. They can be used as bureaucrats for administering India and all. So just abolish the activities of East India Company as a commercial body. So that is one point. Then actually, like it attempted to introduce a open competition for civil servants. Actually, before that, actually, the directors of East India Company would be like appointing all the civil servants. So that was a lucrative thing because when you appoint somebody from a royal family, that court of directors will be given more money and bribes and all. So that was a lucrative position. So from now on, what they have done is actually they have attempted. Lord William Bentinck started attempting to introduce an open competition rather than appointment. By conducting examination they thought of appointing the civil servants. So but it did not happen because of the opposition from the court of directors. So it actually happened in the next act, Charter Act of 1853. So what you can do is actually, see, this is the way you have to do. When you write Charter Act, when you see Charter Act of 1833, you can write three important points so that you need not read the entire thing hereafter. On the first point, I have written just one word, Governor General of India. Maybe you can write bracket like Lord William Bentinck. In the second point, beside that, I have written only one thing, centralizing tendency. So whenever you read the word centralizing tendency, two things you should have in your mind. One is actually the other presidencies were deprived of their legislative powers because he has centralized everything. Then second thing is that from hereafter all the acts will be called acts. Before the acts which were there before were called regulations. That is one thing by meaning of the centralizing tendency. Then ended the activities of East India Company. Then you can write that like commercial activities you can put an into side. East India Company, EIC, commercial activities and into side. That means it ended the activities of East India Company as a commercial body. Then in the fourth point, you can just write attempt to civil service. Okay, from this you have to understand that there was a step to introduce an open competition for the civil service exam. So keywords will be our strategy for limiting the reading in the next round. Okay,